What's going on, everybody? Lil Chris here, and it's been about a week since you last saw me. And for those that might be wondering, I am feeling a lot better. I'm just not completely 100%. Now, in today's video, I want to bring you my first APA 8-ball match from one of my most recent live streams. And during this live stream, I did have the cue ball diagram up above, so I was trying to show you where I was hitting it on the cue ball while I was commentating on the match. And since this match comes from a live stream, I do have the live chat right over here. So that way you can have some context anytime I'm answering a viewer's question. So sit back and enjoy the match, and I'll see you when it's over. So here is going to be the first match of the evening. In this matchup here, I am playing up against a skill level 6. So this is going to be a race to 5-4. Hopefully y'all can see up here, it's going to be my 5 to their 4. And if you're new to the stream, the big 0 that's actually above this that I can't move my cursor over because the scoreboard sits on top of the cursor is the number that I use to track the number of innings. And obviously this 0 over here is to track my score. And this 0 over here is to track my opponent's score. And then, of course, you see the cue ball diagram. Let's see here. Let me try to do this because now what I should be able to do with the cue ball diagram is grab this little red dot here and tell you when I'm using top spin, when I'm using bottom spin, left spin, or right spin, or everywhere in between. And most of the time, I do try to be rather accurate when I say how much spin I'm applying. Like if I tell you I use very little top spin, then it would look something like this, versus if I use extreme top spin, it would look something like this, etc., etc. Now, mind you, this matchup here comes from the summer of 2021, and we're currently in the fall of 2021. So this is an old match. So I'm going to be surprised if I can remember everything that happened to its entirety. So it happened during the last live stream where I basically said, I think I'm doing this, and then when you watch the cue ball reaction, it's completely different. To where it's like, oh, I think I'm using top left, and it turns out to be top right, etc., etc. So any type of blooper that I think that occurs during this live stream is going to be rather funny and hopefully at least entertaining. Versus when I do post production, there's not really any type of bloopers, right? Because I watch the video ahead of time. I try to make sure I understand what's happening so I can properly commentate, properly show what English I'm showing, etc., etc. And most of the reactions that are in post-production videos just aren't as genuine as what's going to happen here, right? Because if I don't remember something and like, oops, this this stuff happens here, then you're going to see some genuine reactions out of me, which I think makes it all the more entertaining. And I've actually enjoy doing it this way better. It gets to include everybody else here, and it kind of gives you a peek on the inside as to like how I do my videos. Because right now, not only am I streaming to YouTube, but I'm also recording what's happening here, so that way I can do the post-production of cutting each match into their own individual segments and then posting them as their own video. So let's begin here. Race to 5-4. I won the coin flip. I think at this time we were still doing coin flips, but when I eventually catch up and we get some more recent matches, you're actually going to get to see some lagging finally. So this is going to be good. So I won the coin flip, and this is during a session where I am using my classic break. So that's why you see that the cue ball is lined up with the one diamond to the left of center, because anybody that follows me knows that I like to break on the left side of the table, or my left side of the table, and 2 diamonds up. And I'm always trying to hit the head ball here slightly off to the left of center, just ever so slightly, so that way when I apply just a touch of topspin, the weight of the rack pushes the cue ball back, and then my touch of topspin hopefully holds the cue ball here near the center of the table. And since the only variable that is uncontrollable by me is the rack, how many gaps are in the rack accidentally left by my opponent? Because, I mean, we're not trying to bad rack each other on purpose. Like, that would be totally uncalled for. But the rack's not going to be perfect. And so what I tend to do during league is I start off usually with a rather controlled break, and then depending upon how the rack reacts, then I might start adding more and more power as time goes by. But typically, when I'm doing the classic break, I'm trying to count on at least 5 balls to do predictable paths. And that'll be for the head ball to head towards this side pocket here, since I am breaking on, or I'm slightly cutting the head ball on the left side. The balls that are in the second row will hopefully track towards their respective side pockets. And then the corner balls here will go 4 rails and then head towards their respective corner pockets as well, provided, of course, nothing gets in the way. So let's begin and let's see how the match goes, especially how my first break goes. So like I said, a little bit of topspin. Let's see if I can hold the cue ball near the center of the table. Kind of like that. Like I said, you can see that the weight of the rack pushes the cue ball back, and then it slightly pushes back forward. Ideally, I would like it to be more right here, but you can see I didn't make a ball, right? And like I said, with the rack not being a template rack, there's a lot of luck that's going to be involved with the break. But the biggest thing that I at least try to control is to see if I can get that head ball to go into the side pocket. Now, you just saw my opponent tried to make an opening shot by playing the 3 ball into the side pocket, and he missed. So that will be 1 inning here. And so with an open table, I come and try to see if I can try to steal solids, and I'm eyeballing that 2 ball right now from here. So if I remember correctly, I think all I try to do is just kind of hold the cue ball. So since I'm elevated over a ball, I don't really try to use any side spin, because that can accidentally cause me to masse the cue ball if I use any type of side spin. So I try to just roll the ball in, and as you can see, I just missed that one there. So off to a pretty slow start. And so now my opponent gets to come in here, and he's just going to steal solids from me. That's just rude. I wanted solids. Okay, so anybody that knows me knows that whenever I'm playing 8-ball, or just in general, I mean, it's not just me, it's just in general, when I'm watching my opponent, I'm always curious as to how far they're actually thinking ahead. And so the first thing I'm wondering is, what does my opponent plan on doing with the 8-ball, since all of the other solids are pretty much out in the open, right? Does he have some sort of route? As you can see, he's doing a pretty good job clearing the table, but does he have some sort of route that's going to allow him to finish the table? Because if he doesn't, then what he ends up doing is making the table easier for me, because I have a feeling I'm going to come back to the table if I start detecting that he does not have a plan for that 8-ball. So here you can see he used the 3-ball to help break out his 6-ball. So now if his 6-ball was blocked by my stripe, it ain't blocked anymore. So now, but what do you do in this situation? Right? This is the hard thing that actually occurs when you are higher up on the skill level ladder of APA. At the lower end of the skill level, strategies like this is perfectly fine. Like, get your soldiers off the table, etc., etc., because more than likely you're going to come back to the table. But when you're at the higher level, it's not the most ideal strategy to have. You can see there, my opponent does a really good cut shot making the 6-ball, but then unfortunately scratches and gives me ball in hand with no real obstacle for me. But as we've done before, I'm actually going to pause this here. You can already see that what I'm attempting to do is to start with the 14-ball. But I want to back up a little bit, because with ball in hand, I did this last time on my last live stream. What pattern would everybody try to do here? Or would y'all start with the 14-ball? Would y'all attempt to start with a different ball? This is where I'd like to get the viewers' interactions to go with this, because I think this is really good to see other types of ideas, because I always like to say there's really no right or wrong idea. There's really no right or wrong pattern to be able to run this out, but there is an optimal pattern. There's a very easy pattern, or an easier pattern that actually can be to win the entire rack, to run to a certain spot and play defensive, or whatever. But what does everybody see here? Ball in hand, stripes. What ball would y'all start with, and what pattern would y'all potentially run? And then where do you think the 8-ball would possibly go after that? So spoiler alert, I'm already starting with the 14-ball. We already saw that. So what does everybody think? Give y'all just a couple of seconds. Ron Sheldon's saying work those 3 in the clutter first. Which ones are we talking about, Ron? Are we talking about these 3 here, which includes the 8 ball, or are we talking about these 3 here that includes my opponent's solid? Ryan Ott, I like your suggestion, starting with the hardest shot, so that would be any ball that's in a bind with another ball, right? And that's basically what I always like to teach to my APA teammates is to start with the hardest ball, that is the hardest ball to play position on, because since you have ball in hand, you can pretty much start in that position. But balls that are pretty much cluttered up and don't really have a path to a pocket, clearly you can't start with that ball. But what you can start with is hopefully a ball that's near that clutter, make that ball, and then break out the clutter at the same time. Yeah, unfortunately, Ryan, this video here and the next one that I have lined up are side view of the table here, so the camera is a bit far away. But then there's one, the last one that I have for tonight is actually looking down the table, and the resolution and the quality of the video is actually much, much better. And it's using the same exact camera. So it's actually funny to see how obviously distance affects the quality of the video, but this is what we have to work with here. So far we Hector at least agrees that starting with the 14 in the corner. But what would basically, let me summarize this, is what would be the last ball to play for the 8 ball, right? So y'all think of that as I allow this to now play on. So like I said, I'm already going to start with the 14 in the corner. And the thing is about that 12 ball, the 12 ball really only has half of a pocket because of the 9 ball. So when I place my cue ball on the table, I'm actually going to play the 14 ball in such a way to where I'm going to bump the 12 ball past the 7 ball, so that way it can actually go into the other corner pocket behind the 7 ball here. Just like that. So now the 12 ball can go into the corner pocket. I don't have to worry about trying to play it in the same corner pocket as the 9 ball. But since I've now dealt with that clutter, I'm now at an angle to where I can deal with this other clutter here, the 10 and the 11. And if memory serves correctly, I do decide to shoot the 10 ball into the, I'm going to refer to upper right corner, top middle, upper left, bottom middle, and bottom right. I do believe I shot the 10 ball into the upper right corner pocket. There it looks like I glanced at the 11, but I'm pretty sure I was settled in on the 10 ball. And it looks like I just have a center ball hit on this one. Yeah, so 10 goes in the upper right, and you can see that the angle of which the cut was causes the cue ball to bump right into the 11 ball. So now I'm just having to glance to see at my 12 and my 9 to figure out what the rest of my transitions were. And here is what I remember my actual plan was, because I do end up calling an audible here, or not here, but I call an audible during the entire run out. I'm going to play the 11 ball into the side pocket, and I have topspin on this cue ball because I want to push the cue ball to the side rail and have it come all the way back up and get position for this ball right here. It doesn't quite get there. I can still shoot it, but transitioning from that ball to any of the other stripes now is a little bit more difficult than I would like, because let me go ahead and pause this here. What the actual run out was supposed to be, if I would have at least executed this correctly, was for the cue ball to be right about here, so that way I can either shoot this ball in here, and depending upon how exactly straight I am, I can just follow up either on the short side of the 9 ball, or if I have the proper angle that I want, get over here for the 9 ball as well. Either way, the 9 ball would go into either of these corner pockets. This ball here, the 12 ball, was going to be the ball that I used as my key ball to get on the 8. Because regardless of which pocket I were to shoot the 9 ball in, the idea was to get this position here on the 12 ball. Shoot the 12 ball past the 7 as intended, so that way the cue ball naturally will come out over here, so that way I can shoot the 8 into the corner pocket. That was at least the original plan. Hector Montalvo, like you're saying right now, if I were to play this ball here with top left, you're certainly correct. That is a possibility. I just didn't really like the idea of, if I execute this shot, shoot this ball in, and the cue ball hits that 8, What happens after that? Unless I'm doing a precise hit on where the 8 is going to be and what kind of shape could I possibly get on my 9 and my 12. That was the main deterrence as to why I did not shoot the ball that I was trying to get position on. So let's see how the rest of the run out looks. Or do I run out at all? Right? Because you can see now I'm going to end up shooting the 12 ball. So all I do is just use a small rolling cue ball, so just a little bit of topspin here, because obviously I'm going to try to get position on the 9. And then so that obviously means that I think this is the 15 ball that's right here. That is going to be the last ball. So we can see, though, I can't shoot the 8 ball into this corner pocket because it's blocked by the 7, but it does have a path here for this corner pocket. So ideally, I would want to have some sort of position on the 15 ball. Like what I tried to do there with a little bit of top right spin was to get slightly behind the 15 ball, so that way when I shoot the 15 ball into this pocket here, I can just drag the cue ball over here so I can shoot the 8 over here. But I didn't get that position, right? So here I am making audible after audible. So my cue ball control really just isn't on par right now. But what I end up trying to do here is play this shot here with some top right spin, and you're about to see why. As the cue ball transitions around, starts to flirt with the side pocket, but I do manage to avoid the scratch, and I have position on the 8 ball to go into the corner pocket. Now, typically in APA, you're supposed to use some sort of personal item to mark the pocket at which you're going to be going to with, but me and my opponent were perfectly fine with just calling the pocket without any type of discrepancy or anything like that. So I just call it into the upper left corner pocket, take the first match down 1-0, and we're currently on 2 innings. So from here, I'm just going to speed up, get past the rack, and get to where I'm actually breaking again. So let's see if I can make either of those 5 balls that I was talking about. Looks like I almost made the ball that was in the second row, but I did drop a stripe at least. So it looks like I'm going to be stripes. So immediately, I'm thinking about, what am I going to do with this guy? What am I going to do with this guy? And really, this is the only ball here, the 15 ball, that'll grant me access to either of these. And so that's why I think I am shooting this right now. I think the thing is which ball am I trying to break out? That was most likely done with top left spin. I'm more than certain I'm probably trying to break this guy up here, but I end up miscuing. So I don't, not only do I not make the ball, I don't even get the breakout that I was looking for. But at least I didn't foul. So my opponent comes to the table. He has solids. And so he's got to be asking himself the same exact question. What is he going to do here? And what is he going to do here? And at least the 7 ball allows him to break out his 3 ball if he plays it off the 3. But it looks like he might be shooting at the 7 ball now. And not entirely sure if he actually meant that. I'm pretty sure he was actually trying to cut it here into the bottom right corner pocket, but my ball happened to help it in. So now it looks like he's going to be playing the 4 ball into the upper right corner pocket. Looks like he can just allow the cue ball just to go from side to side, pretty much like that. You can see he's gesturing because he wants to be able to get position on the 1 ball, but he looks okay. It looks like he can still see it, but it looks like ideally he wanted the cue ball to be somewhere right around here. And you know what? I am just now noticing that I'm going to make the chat a tad bit smaller. Hopefully it'll still be viewable. So that way we're not covering up the pocket. So this is kind of the same thing, right? I would hope that if I'm rooting for my opponent, that he has to have a plan for those 2 solids that are actually cluttered up. Here it looks like he's going to shoot the 1 ball into the corner pocket. Good shot there, but he ends up scratching. So how do I deal with my 2 troubled balls here? I have ball in hand, so at the very least, I can probably play this ball here into this corner pocket, but then what do I do here? That's why you see me looking at it. And I always try to say that when you identify trouble spots, you need to try to deal with them as soon as possible, if the table allows you to do that. If it doesn't, then more than likely, you shouldn't just be making balls just to make balls because, like I said, all you're really doing is making the table easier for your opponent when you give the table back to them. Matt303, you're asking me if I play BCA? I absolutely play BCA. We have a weekly Sunday league that me and some friends play on as a team. So what you see me doing here is I'm going to try to play that first ball that's cluttered up here, and I actually have some left spin on this cue ball because I'm cutting this ball down into this corner pocket and trying to spin the cue ball back over to break out my 14 ball, but as you can see, I used too much left spin, so I missed the breakout altogether. So now I have to try to figure out, am I going to run the table? And if so, what's the next ball I'm going to try to use to break this out? And how? Because otherwise, I need to stop what I'm doing right now and just play some sort of safety. But typically, I'm a pretty aggressive player when I play 8-ball, and that's why you see me play this 10-ball here into the corner pocket, and I have some bottom spin on the ball, because the position that I have now on this stripe here is what I try to use to attack that clutter. So right here, you see me measuring to see where the cue ball will approximately go if I were to shoot that ball into the side pocket, and then will I get the breakout? So I am going to be shooting this stripe here into the corner, or I'm sorry, into the side pocket. And I do believe I try to use a little bit of bottom spin to make sure that I avoid hitting the 8-ball here. And I have to make sure that I hit the side rail. Obviously, I don't want to scratch. But the idea is to try to get the cue ball to come down here, hit the side rail, and then break out my 14 ball. Pretty much like that, but I end up missing the shot, so it doesn't matter. Successful at the breakout, probably wouldn't have even had a shot if I would have made the ball that I was trying to make. But who knows? Now, I did forget that after my opponent scratched, that was supposed to be another inning, so I do believe we're on 3 innings. Now my opponent gets to come back to the table, and now there's not really an issue on the table. He just has to be able to work out a pattern, a route to be able to finish the table. So here it looks like he might be starting with the 2-ball. Nicely plays the 2-ball into the bottom right corner pocket and gets really good position on the 5-ball. That was an excellent shot. So from here, I would imagine that he's obviously going to transition back to the other end of the table to try to deal with his 6 and his 3. I would imagine he has to have some sort of left spin on this cue ball. Maybe not. Can he see enough of the 3-ball to shoot it into the bottom left? That's awfully risky there. I would have imagined that he probably would have tried to get position around here for the 6-ball. But if he's... What is he shooting at? Oh, what a shot. But this is what I mean by risky. I think he got the position. He has position on the 3-ball, but that's what I mean by risky. If he would have just not hit it correctly, meaning choosing the right amount of power, he'd be hooked behind the 8. Does he make this ball? He does make the ball. Gets decent position on the 8. 8-ball should be going into the top left corner pocket. Before we go to the next track, I actually want to go back to these 3 transitional shots. And nice out by my opponent. Okay, so that's at least going to put him up 1-1, and I think we're on 3 innings. But like I said, I want to go back to... Let's see here. I want to go back to this shot here. Because what I thought my opponent was going to do was play his ball into the corner pocket and have his cue ball do something like this. That's what I at least thought, or that's at least what I would probably try to do here. So that way playing position on the 3-ball is relatively easy. Whether or not I get straight in, like that might be a bit too much to ask for. But if I have any type of angle to attack the 6, if I don't get position, maybe I get position on the 3, one or the other. Because that way, at least, I feel like I might be just in a little bit more control of the cue ball to where I don't have to worry about how when he shot that 6-ball, he was able to nicely make the 6-ball into the corner pocket. And when his cue ball did this, like I said, if he would have just chosen the wrong power, he would have just been hooked behind the 8-ball and wouldn't have had access to his 3. That was really the only reason why I would suggest probably playing the other alternative. It's obviously great that he got out, right? But it was just a little too risky, which is why I said before that I don't really believe that there's a quote unquote right and wrong way to play your outs. There's just easier ways to play your outs or less riskier ways to play your outs. And so that's why I would suggest this. Would any of y'all agree with that, or would y'all have attempted to play the way that he played? Like, I can't really tell. Like, maybe he was trying to get position on the 3. Like, that's a possibility if he would have just gotten just a little bit closer here and then play the 3 ball like this. So that way he can probably do something like this for the 6. I'm not entirely sure, but this is all like in retrospect of what could have happened versus what was he actually trying to do. So I hope that makes sense, though. Like I said, ideally, I think I would have tried to play position here for the 6 and or the 3, but it was still a job well done on my opponent. So let's move on to his break. All right, you can see he's breaking more from the middle of the table. I always love seeing pool players that do that, like literally, like just javelin their cue across the table as they're trying to generate so much power into their break. Let's see here. Did he make anything? I guess not. I guess he broke dry. So that would be 4 innings. I'm coming to the table here, and it looks like I'm eyeballing stripes. So it looks like I start with the 15 ball, and all I do is just slightly draw the cue ball back. What in the world was I playing position for? It must have been for the combo. But you can see here, I've got 2 trouble spots to deal with. The 8 ball is considered a trouble spot because I have to play the 8 ball in order to win the rack, and then I've got this little small clutter right here. But looks like I tried to play the combo and draw the cue ball back, and I ended up missing the combo. So now my opponent gets to come to the table with solids, and he's got a fairly decent spread of solids, but again, what does he do here? This is immediately what I would be trying to put my attention towards. So he makes that ball in the corner, gets automatic position on the 6. So like, for example, actually I have to stop this here and let's go back and look. You can see he's got an easy ball here, and there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion, with shooting this ball. What is important is the type of position he gets on this 6 ball, right? Because he already knows that that's the ball that he wants to use next, or that he wants to play next. So what I would tend to do is make sure that if I play this 4 ball, I want to make sure that my cue ball either lands on the rail so that I'm behind the 6. And why do I want to be behind the 6? Because I want to be able to play the 6 ball into the corner pocket and naturally have my cue ball just come over here and just break this stuff up. I don't want to just play position on the next ball just so that I can play the ball, because like I said, I'm concerned about the trouble spots because I'm trying to win the game right then and there when I come to the table, unless I'm able to identify that I can't win the game, because then what I'm going to do is maybe play a ball or 2 and then play some sort of defensive shot by pushing one of my balls closer to a pocket, maybe slightly breaking out a clutter, or just doing something that hopefully will improve the position of the table so that hopefully when I get back to the table, then I'll be able to run the table. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so he's fairly straight on this 6 ball. I wouldn't be able to tell whether or not if he can just force this ball in and force the angle to be able to break out his 1 and his 5. But it looks like he's got a little bit of topspin on the cue ball. And all he does is just push it forward so that way he has position on maybe the 7 ball. Now, I don't know. Ideally, I would think maybe he should consider play safe here. He could push the 5 ball. Let me go ahead and pause this here. He could push the cue ball into the 5, have the 5 run into the 3, and then just marry the cue ball up next to his 1 and 5. Hopefully get ball in hand, and then maybe be able to deal with the table then and there. Because at this point in time, if he does play this 7 ball into the side pocket, I'm just not seeing how he's going to break out the 1 and the 5. Right? So even if he made that shot, he has a shot at the 2 ball, and then what? Right? 2 balls will be 2 balls less will be on the table. Again, making the table easier for me to hopefully run. So these are hopefully strategies that everybody that's in here watching can hopefully benefit from, because like this is ideally how I would advise that you try to attack the table. All right, so I think that's 5 innings. Let's see here. It looks like I've got some top spin on this 10 ball here, so the cue ball will be rolling forward. What am I trying to do? Am I trying to get underneath the 9? Oh, never mind. I cut that 10 to the corner. What was I trying to do? Maybe I was trying to get position on this ball here. There's no way I'm cutting that 10 ball to the corner and getting position on the 9. Not with that cut angle. So I really don't remember what it was I was trying to do there. Let's see here. What are we doing? Are we playing a bank shot? I'm gonna go back and look at that again. He tries to bank the ball, I'm guessing, in the bottom right corner pocket. I don't know. I kind of feel like if I was in his shoes, I would try to bank the 7 ball into the cross side pocket here, and then try to get the cue ball to go 3 rails around and come back up here for this ball here. Mainly because if I do miss, then the 7 ball is getting closer and closer to my whole problem area, and I'm not stuck with a ball that's sitting down here at this end of the table that at some point in time I would have to go deal with. I think that would be the only reason why I would want to bank the 7 ball into the side pocket. If I make the ball, then cool, because then I'm now closer to my stuff, and that's no different than what he did here. He's got the cue ball closer to his remaining solids, but since he missed the ball, he still has a ball at the other end of the table that he has to be able to address at some point in time if I allow him to come back to the table. All right, so y'all can see that I've got this ball here that I can easily shoot at, but I'm not going to do that. Usually when I have a ball that's easy, I still try to focus on what can I possibly do with this here. So the question is, am I going to shoot this so I can try to maybe get position on this ball here so that I can maybe break out my clutter? Who knows? I don't even remember. What am I doing? You can see we got top spin on the ball. What am I doing? Okay, so I played that ball on the side. So now I got to worry about this guy, which hopefully I can use the 14 ball to do that with. Let's see. This looks like a stun shot. I think I'm just going to try to pull the cue ball over to the other side of the table to get position on the knife, but I docked the ball. Okay. All right, so let's see. Now I'm selling out to my opponent because now he gets to deal with the ball that I said that it's at the other end of the table, and now he doesn't have to worry about ever being at this end of the table ever again, unless, of course, a ball happens to make its way down there. But still, he needs to be figuring out what to do with this. Okay, it looks like he's going to try to play the 2 ball into the corner pocket. Can he squeeze past my 10? He can. All right, so unfortunately, should he have made the 2 ball? That's really the question. Because what are the odds of being able to play the 3 ball and break this out and get a shot at the same time? Right? If you end up being honest with yourself and calculating to yourself that the percentages are low, because look, he tries to break it out, so good effort. But if you could be honest with yourself and say to yourself, I can or cannot do this stuff, then that's going to alter your decision on whether or not you're going to play the balls that which you played. Because again, all you're doing is making the table easier for your opponent, which that's something you just don't want to do. Sometimes you can't help it though. You're not always going to be able to implement the strategy at which I'm talking about. It all just depends on what the table allows you to do. So there you see I play the 10 ball into the corner pocket. I think I must have had a little bit of top right spin on that one there. And now I've got position on this stripe here, and I've got a lot of draw on this ball. Why do I have a lot of draw on this ball? Y'all can guess. I'm trying to deal with that trouble ball, right? And I managed to at least get some sort of position on it to where I can deal with it right now and try to shoot it into the bottom right corner pocket. So I've done at least the strategy at which I tried to play my game at. So I am going to try to cut this ball in. I think this is with a little bit of inside spin, so that way I can get position on either of the last 2 stripes. Nope, never mind. That was outside spin, and not only that, I just missed the ball altogether. So that's what I'm saying. I thought I was putting inside spin so that way the cue ball can come this way. Instead, the cue ball comes this way, and I completely blow or get wrong with the side spin that I had on the cue ball. Okay, sweet bank shot by my opponent. Holds position for the 5 ball. Should be relatively easy for him to hold position for the 8 ball and then take the lead 2-1. Can't complain about that. And there we go. Nicely done by my opponent. Okay. Let's see another, the Superman break. Dun, da, da, da. It's a powerful break. Really, but the only reason why I say this is it's a powerful break, but when you have that much power in the break, it's really hard to control your cue ball, right? Does he expect the cue ball to be here? Chances are probably not. It doesn't look like he made a ball, so another dry break. I get to come to the table here. I get to start from a rather difficult position. Let's see here. Can't really decide what I'm going to do here, and I think, what am I doing? I think I'm trying to back cut that 1 ball into the bottom right corner pocket. Yep, that's what I'm trying to do. I was probably hoping that I would run into the 15 ball, and I end up scratching right off of the opening shot. Ball in hand for my opponent. All right, so now, open table, ball in hand. What do you do here? You take solids or stripes, and then of course, what order do you do? Do you play your set in? If I had to guess, solids is the best, and my opponent happens to agree. I say solids the best because of this 10 ball. Right? There's no real ideal pocket. Maybe you can try to play a ticky shot off of the 7 to go into the corner pocket, but at least with solids, provided that you have a good cue ball, all you have to do is just get the positions that you're looking for. So he plays the 3 in the side pocket. I'm curious as to when he's going to come down here and deal with the 1 ball. Looks like he's going to play the 7 ball. That's going to free the pocket up for the 7. And it looks like he comes down table to try to deal with the 1 ball, which I think is a rather smart decision to do. He just loses control of the cue ball and scratches. So, same drill. I have ball in hand. I don't really have any issues, especially now that that 7 ball is gone. What kind of pattern would you possibly run, and where does the 8 ball go? So 9 ball can be a little tricky because I don't remember if it goes past the 2 ball or not. So I think that's why I'm electing to play the 13 ball into the corner pocket first. And I do believe I try to get position on the 9. But as you can see, this is something I always do when I come to the table. Even in 9 ball, I do the same exact thing. I pretty much try to figure out what is the entire route. I just don't say that I'm going to shoot the ball that I want to shoot at, wait for the cue ball to stop moving, and then figure out what to do next. If I'm able to do so because the table allows me to do it, I'm going to plan out the entire route all the way to the 8 ball in order to finish the game. Or I'm going to plan an entire route to where I know I'm going to play safe once I make like 2 or 3 balls. All right, so let's see here. It looks like I am allowing the cue ball to just gently roll forward, so that was just pretty much a center ball hit, but it's not for the 9 ball. It looks like it's for, excuse me, it looks like it's for the 11 ball. Looks like a little bit of topspin on this one. I must be playing the 10 ball next. When am I going to deal with the 9? Maybe I'm going to do it now. Unless the 9 passes by the 2. When exactly am I going to deal with the 9 ball? And see right there, look, I'm checking to see if the 9 passes the 2. If the 9 passes the 2, then I don't really have an issue. What is that? I can't tell what kind of spin that is. Let's watch the cue ball. Okay, a little bit of center right. Looks like I came out for the 12. What is that? I think that's the 12 ball. The 12 ball is going to be going into the side pocket. If that 9 ball passes by the 2 ball, I must be playing this with, well, never mind. That looks like it was pretty much a stun shot. Gives me position on the 15. This must mean my 9 ball is going to be last. Looks like I have a little bit of draw on this one to get position on the 14. And it doesn't look like I got the position I was looking for. I'm pretty sure I wanted the cue ball to be right about here. If I had to guess, the cue ball is supposed to be right here so I can shoot the 14 into the corner pocket, get position on the 9 to shoot into this corner, and then roll up right about here for the 8 in the side. But now it looks like I'm going to be cutting the 14 ball over here. What kind of spin do I have there? Oh, that's some bottom inside spin. Did y'all see how that cue ball flicked off that first rail? Look at this again. Right there. You see how that right spin just kicks right off that first rail? End up missing the shot, so, I mean, so what? And with the path of the cue ball, I had to have been betting that I was going to get position on the 9 ball somewhere right around here. But it didn't matter since I missed. Okay, so relatively open table for my opponent. Looks like I'm guessing my 14 ball blocks his path. He needs to the 4 since he's looking at a 5-2 combination. Let's see here. Yep, 5-2 combination. Good shot. Looks like he's got position on the 4. With this angle that he has here, I'm coming down here for the 1 ball. Right, see how he's able to come to the side rail? I would probably put a little bit of bottom left and have it come hit the rail here and then come down here and play the 1 ball. The 5 ball is pretty much a sitting duck for me, so that way I can play from the 5 to the 6, and the 6 would be the last ball that I would play to play the 8. It looks like he came a little short as he was trying to play from the 6 to the 5, and so he ideally wants to use the 1 ball to play as the key ball to get position on the 8. Oh, man, an unfortunate scratch. Something you certainly don't want to do when I've only got 2 balls left on the table. That's a bit unfortunate. Okay, simply put, y'all can see that I'm going to shoot the 9 first. Who would shoot the 14 first? I'm really curious on who would shoot the 14 first. And then, of course, what would you do? Because what I can tell you right now, my plan is to play the 9 into the corner pocket and just allow the cue ball to just drift forward here with a bit of topspin. And then that way I can just do the same exact thing, play the 14 ball into the side pocket and allow the cue ball to just drift forward for the 8 ball here into the corner pocket. Would anybody else play that route, or would they play a completely different route? And what would that route be? Because remember, there's no right or wrong answers, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking cue ball in hand, putting the cue ball right here, shooting the 14 into the side pocket, and have the cue ball roll forward. Make sure that you're not going to scratch, so that way you give yourself a small angle. Use a little bit of topspin. And that way you can just play a stop shot if you want on the 9 ball, or just have the cue ball dribble forward slightly and play the 8 over here. Perfectly fine. I really don't see an issue with that. The practice room pretty much agrees with that one. 14-9. Is this the route that you're talking about that you would do for the 14-9 and the 8? Yeah, and then of course you're saying that it doesn't look like it passes. That's the whole thing about camera angles, especially if I'm going to be doing this via a live stream here on whether or not if I can see that the camera angle says like the ball goes or the ball doesn't go, you know, etc., etc. But the 8 ball does pass by the 5 ball, and that's why I play the route that I play here. Like I said, but there's more than one way to do things. That's why, you know, people should not be discouraged on if they did an out and they got out, great. But was it the best out that you could have done? That's a learning thing. If you did a lot of work in order to be able to win your rack and you still won your rack, it's great that you won your rack. But try to look for those patterns to where you just don't have to put in a whole lot of work. And that's what makes the game look easy, when you just don't really put in a lot of work. All right, let's get past this. All right, here we go. So this is my break. A little bit of topspin. Lose control of the cue ball as I hit too much on the left side, but I do at least make a ball. So, that means what? I'm stripes? Do I even have a shot? I don't even think I have a shot. What do I do here? Arcade insert coin. I love that username. This is APA League, and APA League is typically played on 7-foot tables, and these are 7-foot diamond tables. Let's see. What in the world am I doing here? Oh, I can see the 9-ball. 9-ball goes into the side pocket. Looks like I just have some topspin on the ball. What did I get position for? I guess I got position on this guy here. Does that mean I'm just going to roll the ball in, have the cue ball come off the side rail, and get position on the 14 next? Looks like that maybe what I was trying to... Oh, never mind. I was trying to get... I remember now, because this is the video that I was going to say that I was going to title it, My Own Ball Gets in the Way, right? Because I'm trying to get position on this ball here, and I'm hooked behind my 14 ball. That's why you see me doing this elevated shot here. I'm actually going to try to masse around my 14 ball so that way I can try to make my 10 ball. And I believe I'm masseing with left spin. And it's good. I'm successful. But I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't be hooked behind my own ball in order to be able to shoot at one of my other balls. Now, because doing a masse shot like that, I have very little control on the cue ball. I'm obviously happy that I made the shot. I'm still at the table, and now I just have to take whatever the table gives me. Let's see here. It looks like I'm going to be playing the 15 ball into the bottom right corner pocket. It looks like I have a little bit of draw on this cue ball. I'm just going to be trying to get position on the 12. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I was trying to do, is get position on the 12. What the heck am I going to do with the 14? I obviously don't think I wanted to get the position that I got here. What am I trying to do with the 12 ball? Oh, are you serious? That means I must be using stun or center with some right spin. I'm going to try to thread the needle and go in between the 1 and the 3 and come back around for the 14. Ah, but I didn't want to run into it unless, of course, it goes. I think I was trying to get position on it to where I can either shoot the 14 ball into the side pocket or get somewhere behind it to where I can shoot it into the corners. Yeah, it doesn't go. The two ball ends up blocking it. And so the measurement that you saw me there was that the 14 ball is going to run into the 2 ball. And so what I end up trying to do with a lot of bottom spin, because I'm going to try to spin transfer top spin into the 14 ball. So that way when the 14 ball comes off the 2, hopefully I catch the left side of the 6 and get a little bit closer to the corner pocket. But I end up catching the right side of the 6. So it doesn't even matter. Now, everything that I've been preaching about to where it's like, if you don't finish the table, now my opponent's in that position. He's got a wide open table. So if he's not able to finish the table, there's nothing wrong with that. But he definitely needs to find a point to where he can play some sort of safety to where I have to kick at my ball or I have some sort of defensive shot that or thin cut shot, bank shot, or whatever. Because now I'm in the position to where I have to wait for him to make a mistake. And that is not a position I want to be in or a position that any of you would want to be in. Because you're not even in control of the rack anymore. So like that. Obviously he wants to make the ball. It looks like he would have gotten position on the 6. I think he was trying to get position on the 1. But I am fortunate to get back to the table, right? Because technically speaking, I'm supposed to lose this rack. Let's see, what am I doing here? It looks like I've got just a little bit of a rolling cue ball. Play the 14 into the corner pocket. And I honestly don't know if I planned to run into the 7 ball so that way I can play the 8 ball into the side pocket. I just don't remember. All right, so that now puts me up 3-2. right? But let's go back and look at this for a second. Right about here. This is pretty much when my opponent has full control over the table, right? So long as they don't make mistakes, because that's the only thing that I can hope for in order to be able to come back to the table, right? So he plays the 4 ball into the corner pocket, no issue there. Probably at least wanted the cue ball to roll a little bit more forward here. Now, when you're playing the next ball here, would you attempt to play a two-way shot in playing the 3 ball in such a way to where if you did miss, you're not selling out to your opponent? Or would you just play the 3 ball with all the confidence in the world and get the position that you want on the next ball? Because there is the concept of a two-way shot, but personally, I just don't like the idea of saying I'm going to do this in case I miss. Right? I just and I know it's a sound thing to have to play for two-way shots, but it's just the idea that if you're thinking negatively about the shot, then more than likely you're going to just manifest some sort of negative result. Right? He wants to make this 3 ball, and I can only guess that he was trying to get position on the 1 ball. Right? He just missed, and misses happen. Right? There's really like nothing wrong with that. Misses are going to happen. He happens to overcut the ball, and actually, now that I think about it, maybe he wasn't trying to get position on the 1. I think he was trying to get position on the 5, judging the path of the cue ball. All right. So what do y'all do when you're in situations like that? You see that you have the table. And I'm asking this despite your skill level. You see the pattern or you see the layout that my opponent has here. Like, do you just go all in and just try to go for it? Or do you just pick areas to where like you can just try to pick apart the table and then hopefully win by betting on that I'm not going to be able to kick at my ball, bank the ball in, or do whatever, right? Because I can't expect for anybody at any skill level to be able to run that particular layout out. But at any particular skill level, how would you attack the table? All right, that looked like a little bit of a cut break. So if I'm doing a cut break on that rack, that means I had to have a bit of a bottom left on the cue ball because I want the cue ball to come over to the side rail and back out. So I must have been cutting the head ball a little bit more than what I was doing at least on the first 2 racks. All right, so let's see here. I think I made both solids and stripes, and it looks like I like stripes, and I'm going to be playing this ball here with some bottom spin and hold the cue ball. What is my pattern? Okay, I think that's the 10 ball next there, and I can see that I have some top spin on the cue ball. I must be playing position for the 13. Heck, even the 14 if I want to, but more than likely the 13. If I'm playing position for the 13, what's my next ball? And usually when I look at my own videos in retrospect and like right now I'm spending all this time here, this has to mean that I'm calling an audible. I didn't get precisely the position that I wanted on the 13 ball, so now I'm planning an entirely new route to hopefully try to finish the table. And I ended up shooting the 14 instead. What am I doing here? That looks like a bunch of top left spin on the cue ball. That is a bunch of top left spin on the cue ball. I got position on the 11. So what am I doing here? I don't even like this position. You can see there. You can tell by my body language. I didn't like what I got. So that means I'm shooting the 9. What am I doing? Is that a center ball hit? Yeah, a bit of a center ball hit. Don't allow the cue ball to roll. 11 ball to the 13. And where am I playing the 8? This is not if I'm gonna judge myself, this is not a really good pattern. I do not like the pattern that I played, especially now that I remember, especially when I did that. I was trying to draw the cue ball back to get position on the 13 ball, and I didn't even draw it enough. That last shot was done with some bottom spin, and I'm hooked behind the 8 ball. So now I remember that. So yeah, completely bad pattern. done by me. Could have been done a lot better. So here's another masse shot. Go around the 8 ball and try to see if I can make the 13 ball into the corner pocket. I at least get a good hit. Right? But once again, back in the position that I don't want to be in, where I have to hope that my opponent makes a crucial mistake. So let's see what happens. Got a shot at the 1 ball, it looks like. Nicely done there. Probably wanted the cue ball to roll a little bit further. Had to have had a little bit of top left spin on that cue ball, I would think, for it to travel the way that it did. Now, how many of y'all would still try to make a ball, or how many of y'all would just tap the 6 and play safe? Right? He's got the 5, 7, and the 8 as blockers. It looks like he's going for a ball. Let's see what he does here. Goes for the 4 ball. I think he's at least safe, right? His 3 ball blocks my 13 ball. All right, but how many of y'all would have maybe elected to either play the 6 and play position for the next ball, or just tap the 6 and play safe? Like those, I think, would be 2 viable options in the position that he was in. So, if memory serves correctly, I can't bank the 13 ball. The 3 ball blocks the path for the bank. But I think what I end up trying to do is I bank the ball over to the other side, so that way the oh heck. I had this happen on the last live stream. Goodbye. Or actually, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Where is it at? There we go. That person's gone. I had that happen on the last live stream to where like someone comes in with a very not politically correct username, um, and I end up having to kick them out of the live stream. And so now even when I clip this portion of the match out, um, I have to hide the name until it finally disappears off of the chat. Okay, so what happened here? I missed this. What is he doing? Makes a good shot at the 3 ball, gets decent position on the 6 ball. Looks like he's got a bit of bottom spin here. Going to be getting position on the 4 maybe. Ooh, I'm pretty sure he wanted that cue ball to draw back. Right? Do you play the 7 ball? You see him looking at it, or do you bank the 4? Do you cut the 4? Do you play safe? What are the options? What is it? What does everybody do in this position? Ooh, he's elevating his cue. What is he doing? He plays some sort of a defensive shot. It leaves me hooked behind the 5, 7, and the 8. So I have to at least try to kick 1 rail. Let's see here. Clearly, I'm going to be going to the short rail and try to 1 rail kick my 13 ball. Where did I go? There I am. So this is more than likely done with topspin and usually a twist of right spin when I play kicks. Like I usually try to twist the ball and I end up missing the ball altogether. And so now my opponent has ball in hand. And actually he played his last safety, so I think that puts us on 3 innings or 13 innings. I hope I have the inning count correct, but Inning count's not really relevant. So this almost looks like a drill. If he's going to start with the 4 ball, 4 ball goes into the bottom middle, 5 ball goes into the top middle, 7 ball goes into the bottom middle, and then where does the 8 go? Right? This looks like a drill that you might see or that you might practice with. Right? And just allow the cue ball to follow forward for the 8 in the opposite side. Ooh, that's a bit of a thicker or thinner cut shot than I think he wanted. Okay, he's going to try to play the 8 in the top middle. Oh, and he undercuts the ball, and you can see he's not happy about that. Oh my goodness. I would have to say like that's a makeable ball, right? From almost anywhere where he was at. But I would have to say that the previous shot, I just think he probably just overcut the ball and allowed his cue ball to move just a bit too much. Oh, that was a drag shot. Let's look at that one more time. You see how much bottom spin I have on the cue ball? You would think that I'm trying to draw the cue ball, but you see how the cue ball just dribbles forward after it makes contact with the 13 ball? So that means I hit that ball in such a way to where the backspin, that's as it's going on its way to the 13 ball, dies out and it slides and then slowly starts to roll forward after that and give me the position that I have on the 8 ball there. Oh, what an unfortunate miss by my opponent. So I got super lucky on that one because I should have lost that match or that rack. Okay, so during this session here, when I'm on the hill, let me go ahead and stop the video here. When I'm on the hill, I do try to make the 8 ball on the break because in APA League, when you make the 8 ball on the break and you don't scratch, you do win the rack. If you make the 8 on the break and scratch, you lose the rack. So what I'm attempting to do here is to hit the ball that's in the second row, which is the 14 ball. I just want to make sure that I miss hitting the head ball, which is the 3 ball. And typically what I try to do is I put a little bit of bottom, or a lot of bottom, not a little bit. What is this person doing back in here? Let's see if I report them. Let's see here. This is going to be great when I have to clip this one out. Yep, that's not working either, so hide. And they're gone again. This is going to be great when I have to clip this out and people that watch the clipped version go, what the heck is he talking about? And so I will at least say this for the recorded part. There is a I don't even know how to describe this. That's quote unquote safe for description. To safely to describe to keep the stream like PG. Yeah, let's just say that there's someone in here with a not so friendly username trying to advertise something that they shouldn't be advertising, especially in my live stream. We'll just leave it at that. Now, going back to the match, I am trying to make the 8 ball on the break here. So when I use a lot of bottom spin on the cue ball, that's because I'm at least trying to drag the cue ball back over to the side rail here. And then I use a twist of right spin. And the reason why I use a twist of right spin is because I usually try to get the cue ball to come back and smack the rack again. And that's primarily because usually when I do a break like this, a lot of the balls basically go from one end of one side of the table and then come back over to the other side of the table and just leave a complete mess. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when I try to drive the cue ball back into the rack, it still just hopefully opens it back up. To where if I don't make the 8 ball on the break, I might still have an opportunity to be able to break and run the rack. Now, you'll see in later matches, I kind of stop doing that, and I actually start using a twist of left spin, so that way I can try to pull the cue ball back in the middle of the table. But if I remember correctly, during this portion of this session, this is what I'm trying to do. And typically what I'm expecting to see is that the 8 ball hopefully will track its way over towards this side pocket. That is typically what I would like to see. But what I happen to see on more than one occasion is that this ball here, which is the 13 ball, this ball will come up and hit the short rail, come back and run into the 8 ball as it's heading over this way, and it'll actually push the 8 ball over in this direction like this. So more times than not, at least with the way I break, my 8 ball happens to be somewhere on this side of the table rather than the opposite side of the table. So let's see if that happens here. Well, it didn't quite happen exactly the way that I described, but it is still on the left side of the table versus the right side of the table. But one thing's for certain about doing hitting the ball that's in the second row is moving the 8 ball out of the rack. So I was at least able to make a stripe. So what am I trying to do here? It looks like I drew off of that ball. Where did I end up? It looks like I got position for the 9. I'm not entirely sure if that was intended or not. I don't even know if I'm going to shoot the 9. I'll probably shoot the 10 instead. You see me shaking my head. I don't like it. Okay, 9 ball. I'm so close to the rail, I automatically have topspin on the cue ball. Try to just gently push that in. Push through the 5 ball and gives me position on that 10 ball. And I have to be allowing the cue ball to roll forward, I think, if I shoot that 10 ball. So that way I hopefully avoid the scratch in the side pocket. Ooh. I got bottom spin on this cue ball. What am I doing? Am I going to draw underneath the side pocket? Oh, I do. Oh, gosh. That was a close one. I do manage to draw underneath it. More than likely trying to get position for this ball here, but I don't think I got it. And so what do I have to do now? Let's see here. Shooting at the 11. Oh, so it looks like the 11 did go past the 4 ball, but I just missed. But look, had I made it, 14 goes in the side. I probably just bump the 8 and push the 8 over here. 15 ball goes here into the corner, and then the 8 ball more than likely would have gone into this corner, and that would have been a break and run. But I don't break and run the set. All right. So my opponent comes to the table. He's going to take a shot at the 7 ball. Just gently rolls it in, gets position on the 4. Nicely done there. Don't really see an issue. So my opponent just has to maintain good cue ball control. Looks like he's got a bit of topspin here. Does he go to the short rail and come out for the 5? He does. Good shot there. 2 ball is going to be a little bit of a tricky ball to deal with, I would have to say. Okay, shoot the 5 ball into the corner. The cue ball should come off the side rail and get position on the 6. And actually, he probably could have tried to get position on the 2, and if he fails, he might still have position on the 6. But here, I would have to think you have to get position on the 2 now. But it looks like he holds position for the 3 instead. And this is not a bad idea either, because he can play the 3 into the corner pocket and then have the cue ball just come up, hopefully land right in between the window of the 8 and the 2, and then have, or yeah, the 8 and the 2, and then have position on the 2. This is turning into a pretty good run out here. Oh, but he falls short of his position. Now he has no choice but to bank it, right? At this point, this is do or die, right? This is not a point where you play safe. I would think you have to go for the bank shot in the cross side pocket and try to get position for the 8 in the opposite side pocket. Would y'all agree? Oh, what a shot! Where does the 8 ball go? Does it pass by all my stuff? Wait, is this my opponent's 1 ball? Or is that my 9 ball? I think I lost track there. If that's my opponent's 1 ball, my opponent's in trouble. Hmm. It's got to be, because otherwise you're just cutting the 8 in the side pot. Oh, it is. That is my opponent's 1 ball. Man, he just barely missed position on getting the 1. He's like he's going to try to masse around the 8. Hey, at least makes a good hit. But this might be a sellout. Let's see here. All right, what in the world do I do here? Do I play? I think that's the. What is that? Is that the 11 ball? Looks like I'm playing the 11 ball. What? Top right spin, get position on the 14 on the side. I don't even care that I bumped into the 1 ball. All right, now I can just roll this in. Actually, I don't want to be on the rail though. All right, so I tap this in, yeah, and I make sure I leave myself an angle to where I'm not on the rail. And am I gonna play this with bottom left so I can shoot the 8 in the side pocket? Yeah, that's what I do. 8 goes in the side pocket, and I do have a question for everybody. And that's that there. And I was able to win that match 5-2 in only 15 innings, provided that I got the inning count correctly. Or correctly. Correct. Now, question is this. On this shot here, excuse me, how many of y'all would have just played it in and then try to get the cue ball to do something like this so that way you can play the 8 ball over here into this corner pocket? How many of y'all would have done that? Give me a show of hands or whatever. Some sort of acknowledgement. Anybody. Would anybody play this shot this way? Hector says no, he would not play it this way. Okay, Riot Ott said a couple of people would have, right? There's nothing wrong with doing this. But it's curious to see. Like I said, there's not, like I said, I'm always going to preach there's not a right or wrong way to do this. The only thing every one of y'all should have to be aware of is what happens if you don't hit it correctly. And I say that in such a way to where if I play the shot that I played, what happens if I hit it incorrectly, right? You can always use that as an excuse as to just what happens if you hit it incorrectly. But when I say hit it incorrectly, I mean hit this too soft. The reason being is because there's a precise area that you're trying to land in order to be able to play the 8 ball into this corner pocket, correct? Because the further away you get, the less likely you're going to play that 8 ball into the corner pocket because now you're going to end up scratching, right? So this shot here, though there's nothing wrong with playing this shot becomes a very precise shot. And if you have the precision to do it, then by all means do it. The shot that I chose, on the other hand, though, it allows me to hit the ball harder. And as long as I get past the 8 ball, there's really no place I can leave myself to where I'm not going to have a shot on the 8 ball. So I hope that makes sense as to why I chose to do what I did here versus what I could have done. Because in the olden days, this is what I would have done. But as I've gotten older and more experience starts to kick in and I get more familiar with using my rails, I get more comfortable with moving my cue ball around, I tend to play a shot more like this. Because there's really no way for me to screw this up unless I hit the ball too hard, right? And anybody that's been following me knows that I'm a very finesse player, so the chances of me hitting a shot like this too hard are just very, very little. Whereas if you try to hit this shot here, it's very easy to overhit the shot, and now you can't cut the ball because you're going to end up scratching, or it's very easy to not hit it hard enough. You'll still have a shot, but it'll be a more difficult shot than what you were anticipating on getting, right? So keep that in mind when you see stuff like this, and just weigh out the options. You can obviously still go for option A, but make sure you at least understand that option B is available. So I hope that makes sense. That pretty much wraps up that match there. And that's going to do it for today's video. Now, I think the main thing that you should be able to take away from this match here is just being honest with yourself at knowing if you're going to be able to finish the table when it's your turn. Because you saw plenty of times where both myself and my opponent, when we tried to finish the table and couldn't, then the other was at a huge advantage to be able to win the rack. Now, just because you're at a huge advantage to win the rack does not guarantee that you're going to win the rack, because you still have to be able to make good decisions and obviously execute at being able to run the table with whatever your opponent gave you. Now, if you're able to be honest with yourself and you can say that you're not going to be able to finish the table, then don't just arbitrarily pocket your balls and then give the table back to your opponent because you knew you weren't going to run the table, because you've now made it easier for them to win, either by running the table themselves or using all their remaining balls as blockers to play some sort of basic safety. Instead, make a ball or two and then maybe try to block a pocket with one of your balls, just as long as you're doing something that still allows the table to be a little difficult for your opponent to finish, and therefore increasing your chances at being able to come back to the table and possibly win the rack. So I hope everybody was able to enjoy and learn something from this match here. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and be sure to click the bell notification icon to be notified whenever I go live or publish a new video. Take care, everybody.